And it's pure literature, the same way that Hitchcock is pure cinema. And that's what I mean when I say that he's the greatest writer.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Stories Cafe podcast, the espresso version of Stories Cafe, a brief, enriching pause for reflection on literature, cinema, archetypes, philosophy, and the art of living deliberately. I'm Annetta Wernblatt, course creator, internationally published author, and wanderer at heart. So cozy up and let's once again step into the world of stories and the deep ways in which they can shape the lives we live.
So what is it that I mean when I say that? To me, Hemingway's the greatest writer that ever lived. One really important thing to understand about Hemingway is that what he doesn't say is as important as what he does say. And it's often said that Hemingway writes with what you call the tip of the iceberg principle. And that means that you only see 1/10 of what he's saying. In the words and in the sentences that he put together, you have 1/10. 9/10 of what he's saying is inferred. It is implicit rather than explicit. Now, if you're going to write with the tip of the iceberg principle, you only give people 1/10 of what you're saying in those words and sentences. Do you have any idea how carefully chosen those words and those sentences have to be so that the audience is not just confused, but that you're able to, I mean, it's one of my favorite words, the portal, that the words and the sentences become a portal into those other 9/10 under the surface that are implied, that are implicit, rather than explicitly stated. And that means that if we look at Hills Like White Elephants, the discussion those two people are having on that railroad station, what is that discussion really about? What is it that they're talking about? It's never said, never ever said. It's about pregnancy. And it is never mentioned. They never talk about a baby or pregnancy or commitment or anything like that. They're talking about an abortion that is never mentioned. And that means that in those words that Hemingway chooses, and in that dialogue between those two people, you can infer who they are when not told. We don't have their names. It's just the man and the girl, and they're sitting there. They're having this discussion about a small operation, and between the lines, underneath that 1/10, you can learn so much about those people. And Hemingway is often seen as this sort of macho shithead who goes big game hunting and bullfighting and running with the bulls in Pamplona and fishing and all that manly stuff. But in that story, to me, he has such sympathy for that girl. So Hills Like White Elephants and Cat in the Rain, I think both are like 3 pages long. The two stories are similar, and they're all about a certain lifestyle that those two couples both have, are all on the premises of the men. And it's all violating the woman's integrity. Probably the way his own life was with Hadley. His first wife was very much on his premises. You have in each of the stories a couple, a man and a woman, and they're having a conversation about something that is inferred rather than stated. The hills across the valley of the Ebro were long and white. On this side, there was no shade and no trees, and the station was between 2 lines of rails in the sun. This is a classical Hemingway sentence. It's sort of enumerating things, and it's telling us what there isn't. There was no shade and no trees. And so they're sitting down and they're getting the beer and the anise drink with water, and they're talking about this. It tastes like licorice. And actually, they're talking about, it becomes very clear quickly that they're talking about something else. It tastes like licorice, the girl said, and put the glass down. That's the way with everything. Yes, said the girl, everything tastes of licorice, especially all the things you waited so long for, like absinthe. And he says, oh, cut it out. You started it, the girl said. I was being amused. I was having a fine time. Well, let's try and have a fine time. All right, I was trying. I said the mountains look like white elephants. Wasn't that bright? And again, they're talking about something different than what they were saying. And in the tone of it all, there's a certain sense that he's going to have his way. I wanted to try this new drink. That's all we do, isn't it? Look at things and try new drinks, she says. And he says, I guess so. The girl looked across at the hills. They're lovely hills, she said. They don't really look like white elephants. I just meant the coloring of their skin through the trees. Should we have another drink? All right. The warm wind blew the bead curtain against the table. The beer's nice and cool, the man said. It's lovely, the girl said. And now we start talking. It's really an awfully simple operation, Jig, the man said. It's not really an operation at all. The girl looked at the ground the table legs rested on. I know you wouldn't mind it, Jig. It's really not anything. It's just to let the air in. The girl didn't say anything. I'll go with you and I'll stay with you all the time. They just let the air in and it's all perfectly natural. Then what will we do afterwards? We'll be fine afterwards, just like we were before. What makes you think so? That's the only thing that bothers us. It's the only thing that's made us unhappy. The girl looked at the bead curtain, put her hand out, and took hold of two of the strings of beads. And you think then we'll be all right and be happy? I know we will. You don't have to be afraid. I've known lots of people that have done it. So have I, said the girl, and afterwards they were all so happy. Well, the man said, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I wouldn't have you do it if you didn't want to, but I know it's perfectly simple. I think it's the best thing to do, but I don't want you to do it if you don't really want to. And if I do it, you'll be happy and things will be like they were and you'll love me. I love you now, you know I love you. I know, but if I do it, then it'll be nice again. If I say things are like white elephants and you'll like it. I love it. I love it now, but I just can't think about it. You know how I get when I worry. If I do it, you won't ever worry. I won't worry about that because it's perfectly simple. Then I'll do it because I don't care about me. What do you mean? I don't care about me. Well, I care about you. Oh, yes, but I don't care about me, and I'll do it, and then everything will be fine. I don't want you to do it if you feel that way. The girl stood up and walked to the end of the station. Across on the other side were fields of grain and trees along the banks of the Ebro. Far away beyond the river were mountains. The shadow of a cloud moved across the field of grain, and she saw the river through the trees. It's once you start thinking about how it's about an abortion, can you see, then you open that portal into all that stuff that's underneath the surface. It is so sad. And it's about basically the more he says, if you don't really want to do it, you don't have to do it. The more he's really saying, yes, you do. And why are they called the man and the girl? Do you see that sort of who has more authority in that relationship? The man or the girl? And the man keeps saying, it's really nothing. This is at a time, you have to remember, this was during a time where an abortion was completely illegal, considered deeply immoral, and was very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So why they're sitting at the station at the Ebro? Because they're catching a train to Madrid so that she can have this done. And it becomes so clear. So she says, the hills are like white elephants. And that metaphor, again, is an objective correlative. You're talking about the elephant in the room. They're not talking about what they're talking about, But white elephants is, again, something you don't, I think it's a metaphor traditionally for something you don't want. It may be interesting, but you don't want a white elephant. And then she walks to the end of the station as she looks across, and there are fields, and there are streams, and there are mountains in the background, and it's all fertile and beautiful and everything she longs for. And we know she's going to go through with it. And we know that it goes against everything her heart wants. And the conversation is so superficial. Their suitcases have stickers from every hotel they visited. That idea that they're moving and moving from town to town, and he's not going to stop, and he doesn't want to stop. And she's a girl, and he knows everything about that operation. Not really even an operation, they're just letting some air in, and then everything else is completely natural. And again, he talks as if he has had an abortion. He talks as if he has any sort of knowledge of what is it going to do to her body. It's not even just her body, and have a child that she obviously longs for, or a lifestyle certainly that she longs for when she's looking at those fertile fields. But she's doing it risking her life. And he's just being very glib about it. It's perfectly simple. He goes on and on and on about repeating, just how he keeps repeating how simple it is. It's all right for you to say that, but I do know it. Would you do something for me now? She says, I'd do anything for you. Would you please, 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 please stop talking? He did not say anything but look at the bags against the wall of the station. There were labels on them from all the hotels where they had spent nights. But I don't want you to, he said. I don't care anything about it. I'll scream, the girl says. It's, really amazing writing, isn't it? And that's what Hemingway is. And it's pure literature, the same way that Hitchcock is pure cinema. And that's what I mean when I say that he's the greatest writer, because he is the purest expression, because the sentences are so short and so brief and so precise, and there's so few adjectives.
Thank you so much for joining me. If this episode added value to your day, you're always welcome to return. You can follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts so that each new episode lands directly in your podcast app. And if you feel like leaving a review, it helps others to find their way here too. If you'd like to go deeper, you're warmly welcome inside Stories Cafe. Just go to stories-cafe.com, where you'll find further reflections, conversations, and a growing library of ideas. I'm looking forward to welcoming you back next time.